3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. Today is Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. So you know what that means? It's New Comic Book Day. It also means it's Ash Wednesdays. This is my weekly show where I do sort of a video podcast talking about my comic book haul, the comics I bought this week, talking about any comic-related topics that I feel like just getting off my chest and talking about, as well as doing a segment that I call Marvel versus DC, where I do some comparisons, do some mockery of the two companies that they have well-deserved, and just hopefully have some fun talking about comics. So if that's why you're here, if you're the first time that you're here, then you're probably wondering what you're looking at here. This is a cardboard box that inside has one of my favorite things about every Wednesday. But joining me on the show, as always, over here on the right is Stan the Man, and you should know who Stan the Man is. If you don't, well, it's too big of a scope for today. But Stan is arguably, he's like the Disney of comics, right? He's the Walt Disney of comics, I mean, not the company. And joining me over here on the left is Forky. He's a channel mascot. He's Stan's assistant. He's the resident expert on all things trash. And he's also our celebrity guest host, because Forky is a true celebrity, and we love him. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This box, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. In this box, let's just get right to it, because I don't want to wait any longer. Every week, I pick up my comics on a Wednesday, and I really look forward to it, because that's new comics. But also, I've made it sort of a ritual. Going to the comic book store, I look forward to it, but I also, my lunch, I swing by In-N-Out Burger, and just once a week, get my burger. It's my favorite place to go, and it's just sort of makes it a ritual, makes it fun, adds to it, and also get to tease you guys with my delicious, mouth-watering burger. Oh, man. Elder abuse. Stan, come on, buddy. So, get an unboxing of a burger. That lettuce there, that was my fault, kind of doing the unboxing. Doesn't look quite as... Look away. Look away while I fix the burger, and it's all disgusting. Oh, hey, look. It's sort of fixed. Yeah, so In-N-Out Burger is my absolute... This is the best bang for your buck burger on the planet. Not necessarily the best burger on the planet, but, man, I've been eating them for decades now. I don't get tired of them. And look, it costs the price of a comic book. You can get lunch. Oh yeah, always show your receipts, kids. Today, my cashier was Garen, order taker 1. I don't know who that is. There's that's my order. So yep, I did not pirate this burger. I'm gonna eat it, and these two are gonna watch, because they don't eat burgers. And then we're gonna get back into talking comics. Thanks for indulging me. I'll see you in a sec. Now it's time for a segment I like to call Marvel versus DC, where every week I compare Marvel versus DC with first a positive thing, which is their sales, and then something I like to mock, which is the number of number ones they release. First, let's start off with the digital sales. I started off using digital sales because it's an easy number to get. And it's something that it's not affected by collectors. It's not affected by special covers. It's not affected by double shipping or, over shipping. Things that comics sell in stores, these numbers can be inflated by various reasons. This is numbers, essentially people paying their $3.99, $4.99, $5.99, what have you, for a comic that has no intrinsic value afterwards, no collectability. Simply they want to read the book. Let's go ahead and get on with the show. Number 10, Captain Cold and the Rogues. Just kidding. This is actually Flash 82. DC, in all their utter brilliance, has decided to replace the title, the branding on their books. Man, I went into a store. I'm not going to go into that. This is actually Flash. They should have put Flash like maybe crossed out in the background or something, and then stamped the new title over. I hate what they're doing here, but you know, it's It's the Brain Trust over there and their Genius Year of the Villain event that no one seems to care about, except that people, I guess, want to read Flash. Flash is a good book. Josh Williamson, it's a good writer. You should probably check it out. Number 9, Batman's Grave number 2. I'm sort of shocked, but not real shocked to see it here. It's a number 2 issue. It's got Brian Hitch art. It's got Warren Ellis writing. I read the first issue. I was less than impressed. I had no desire to continue going. It was kind of a snooze fest. It wasn't a terrible book, but neither was it anything that good. And when you're asking me to pay $4 for, 10 minutes of boredom, well, I got other books I'd rather give that money to. But hey, other people feel differently, and this is number 9. Number 8, Star Wars. The main Star Wars title, Destination Hoth. Looks like it's leading up. This sort of seems to be a prequel to the reboot, which is really weird. That we've gotten reboots have gotten so commonplace these days that now they actually do prequels in the previous series to lead up to the reboot. Oh man, yeah. Only at Marvel, right? Well, pretty soon at DC, because DC copies Marvel. But I also feel that this is probably getting a little bit of a bump, that it's now Star Wars season, and I think people are kind of getting in the mood. So congratulations, Star Wars. Number 7, Detective Comics. This is the best active continuity Batman title on the stands, and this is not Mr. and Mrs. Freeze. This is Detective Comics. I urge you to check out, if you like Batman and you're bummed about what's going on in the main Batman title, this is the book for you. Let's see here. Next we have Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Blackest Night, number 1. This is number 6 on our list. These have been actually more popular than I expected. People have genuinely been receiving these pretty well. I was a fan of the whole Dark Multiverse thing in Metal, but these didn't seem that interesting to me, but apparently other people feel differently, and good for that. Number 5 on our list is Far Sector number 1. For some reason, this is a DC Young Animal book, which still nobody is able to explain to me what that Young Animal imprint means. According to this little fine text next to the label, it says ages 17 plus. So Young Animal is meant to mean mature audience? I don't know. So stupid. This is yet another Green Lantern book. It's a first issue. Green Lanterns are always popular. Jamal Campbell is a pretty outstanding artist. So people want to read this book, and it made it number 5 on our list. Number 4 is Superman. Possibly the worst run in the history of Superman comics, but Brian Michael Bendis has captured normies everywhere with his sitcom level dialogue and brainless writing. When I say brainless, I mean you can pretty much just skim through this book. You don't have to pay attention. It doesn't require any thought. There's no depth. You could be pretty much brain dead and understand this book. I made a comment earlier somewhere else that comparing Mike Judge's movie Idiocracy, and who knew, I think I did on Twitter, that who knew he was predicting Brian Michael Bendis, because literally it's like Ow My Balls, the comics. It's just silliness and it's nonsense, but I guess it gets a chuckle out of certain readers, and even though collectors are ditching this in droves, online it's popular. It's number 4 on the list. Number 3 on the list is also another Brian Michael Bendis book, and I did a video on this particular issue. Event Leviathan did not do really well as far as the physical copies go. It was lackluster in comic stores. No one's talking about it. No one's really interested. This issue was a complete nothing burger, but apparently normies, like I said, out there, they want to know about Event Leviathan. It made number 3. Or maybe they were just already invested. They just wanted to finish it up. I don't know. But it made the list. I can't fake it. Finally, number 2 is Fallen Angels. I did a video on this as well. And while I hated the art and I hate the characters, Brian Edward Hill's writing transcended all of that to make this into the best story out of all the X books in the Dawn of X so far. Kudos, Brian Edward Hill. It's no surprise that this is on the list. All these Dawn of X books are going to be there. There's a lot of excitement. People want to read these books no matter what they are. And this was number 2 only because number 1 was, of course, the flagship X-Men title by Hickman and Lionel Francis Yu. It's X-Men. X-Men's back on top, and it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future while Hickman's on it, because people like Hickman, people like X-Men, and people want X-Men to succeed. So if it's halfway good, it's gonna. And some congratulations from Marvel for not totally crapping the bed anymore with X-Men and trying to do some good. I really want to root for this title. I am a longtime X-Men fan, and I want to see it succeed. So here is the summary of all the top 10 bestsellers this week. And the tail of the tape shows Marvel comes in a sad second place with only 3 books in the top 10. DC having 7 books, despite having a smaller publishing line. DC makes less comics overall than Marvel, and is generally a less popular comic company, but yet that's where the talent lies at DC. The best writing and the best art, for the most part, is at DC Comics, and for some reason, digital readers like Bendis. Moving on to Marvel versus DC. New number ones. This is where the whole thing started. With number ones, I used to mock Marvel because they produce so many number ones. They're approximately about to the point where 20% of the comics that comes out every week, 20% almost, are number 1 issues from Marvel. It's ridiculous. But starting off this week with DC, I added DC to the list because in the last few months, DC has shown that they are not content to let Marvel dominate the number 1s market, and they have thrown in heavy. And they come out punching this week with Batman White Knights presents, I can't even read. Batman White Knight presents Von Freeze, number 1. It's a one-shot issue. It's going to set you back $6, but it's White Knight. Why not do spin-off of White Knight? Everyone likes White Knight. And $6. DC takes the lead, 0-1. Their Black Label has been pretty popular. Speaking of Black Label, there's another book that people have been looking forward, and that's Jeff Lemire's Question book. I looked through this. I don't like the oversized format, meaning like the magazine size format. I also don't like paying for $7. This is a $7 comic, so I'm not into that. I don't know the question. I'm not invested. But hey, DC's got a number 1 out there, and they're stuttering all over my words, and I don't get to edit it, so it's going to sound like crap, and you guys get to laugh at me. But that's what this is all about, right? This is all about mockery. DC is leading Marvel 0-2, or I should say Marvel's behind DC. I'm telling you, man, DC is coming out swinging. They are going to show, hey, we are just as predatory towards our fans as the competition. But Marvel will not be set aside. They're coming back with Deadpool, a new number 1, a totally unnecessary reboot, but hey, let's throw Kelly Thompson on the book because everyone likes Kelly Thompson, right? Her books continuously get rebooted over and over again. She must be so great. Here she gets Deadpool. Remember when Deadpool used to be this hot commodity? Marvel sure man, they sure botched this. They took something really popular. It has probably never been hotter in the character's life, and they decided to just milk it till it died. And we got this. I give this less than 12 issues before it's canceled and rebooted again. This book will set you back $5, but hey, Marvel's back in the running. It's 1-2. Spoilers. Can't control my iPad. Next on the list is 2099 Alpha. I didn't even know this came out today, but it's 2099 Alpha number 1. Now the 1 is really just kind of superfluous. from my understanding, every single book that's coming out for this event for $20.99, every single one is a number one, which means, of course, Marvel's going to probably dominate this list in the next couple of weeks because they decided, hey, we're not just going to make a bunch of number ones and reboot series all the time to get them. We're just going to make every issue a number one, starting with $20.99. Marvel's now tied it up 2-2. Speaking of events, we got Absolute Carnage Absolute Carnage Captain Marvel number one. Because what doesn't go better together than Carnage and Captain Marvel? I can't think of anything. So this number one is something you need to get. Marvel takes the lead 3-2, showing DC who the king of number one comics are. Following it up with Annihilation Scourge Alpha number one. Again, just like $20.99, every single issue of Annihilation Scourge miniseries is going to be a number one. Marvel's not messing around anymore with just rebooting to get number ones. They'll just make every issue a number one. So this one is something you can't miss because every issue, like I said, you have to get number one. DC bounces back with an infected scarab, something no one cares about. No one cares about Blue Beetle. I'm not sure anyone cares about an infected Blue Beetle called Scarab. No one knows who this book is. I don't know what DC. I want to like You're the Villain. It's got some good things about it, but DC just doesn't seem to know what they're doing. But they've got excuses to do number ones, and by gosh, they're gonna do it. DC's back in. They were down 4-2, but now it's 4-3 DC. This one only set you back $4. But it's $20.99 season, and Fantastic Four $20.99 is out. And I don't know what this is all about. Apparently, is this some black girl fantastic? I don't even know. I don't even know. It's a number one. You got to buy it. It's number one. Marvel leads 5-3. This will only set you back $5. DC bounces back with He-Man because you need He-Man in your life. And at a number one, how many times do you have an opportunity to buy a He-Man number one? Well, DC is going to make sure it's plenty of times. I'm sure this is a Tim Seeley book, Dan Fraga. I mean, Tim Seeley writing He-Man. Who's more freaking manly than Tim Seeley? I mean, this He-Man book is money. You got to get this. DC's tied it up. No, I'm sorry. DC's brought the deficit to only 5-4. This will only set you back $4. Can DC pull it off? Nope. That's it of all the number ones this week. Marvel wins 5 new number ones to DC's 4. There's 9 new number ones for you to get this week. As you can see, Marvel put out more books than DC, which is usual. Although DC's really closed the gap. Marvel used to produce almost twice as many books as DC. 25 new issues this week. DC has 18. But when you add in all the variants, look at that. Marvel, this is something DC has not caught on yet, with the extreme number of variant copies, multiple issue covers, 92 comics. Now imagine if the average comic price is over $4. You're spending $400 to $500 just to buy all the Marvel comics every week. Almost $1,000 a month. Actually, that's over $1,000. Almost $2,000 a month. Wow. Marvel, man, I just don't understand. And DC is they're deciding that they're going to play in that same sandbox. They've only got 32 when it comes to all the variants, but that's still a hefty price tag, especially if you want to buy both Marvel and DC. New number ones total together this week will cost you $46 to add to your pull list, which is a little bit lower than the normal. I think the average was around $50. Marvel wins yet again. I'm going to wrap this one up. I've been trying to keep this shorter. I'm still got some work to do, I'm sure. I hope you guys got enjoyed seeing who was doing what with Marvel versus DC. And thanks for watching this segment. We're going to get on to the comics. All right. Time to get into the comic haul. This is the part that I think most people tune in for. They like to see what people buy. I get it. I watch other comic hauls. If you have a comic haul video yourself, please put it down in the comments below. I'll be happy to check it out. And I always plug channels that I like to watch. So yeah, please do so. Let's all support each other on YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube channel, don't sweat it. Not everyone needs to have one. You're not missing out on anything. It actually takes up a lot of time. But I appreciate everyone who tunes in to watch these videos. Going first, starting with the indies, we've got Firefly #1. Oh, man, I almost forgot. I'm so forgetful these days. Show your receipts, kids. Always show your receipts. Today's budget was almost at $25. Look at that. I was so close. Yeah. So, Firefly #1, or number 1. It's number 11. Numero 11. I'm still buying the series. I haven't been reading it because I'm just backlogged on comics. And as much as I like Firefly and I want to enjoy this, Craig Pak isn't the greatest writer. He hasn't exactly. He's just fine. It's just like buttered bread. You know, it's like, no, okay, get some Wonder Bread, put a little butter on it. It's fine. It's not like you're right. It's not an In-N-Out burger, right? I forgot to mention too. I picked up the comic book the other week. I keep forgetting these. Check out your freebies bin. If you're a comic book store, I got these cool Absolute Carnage temporary tattoos. There's like multiples in here. I think there's like 5 each. So I got 10 temporary tattoos. And the thing I'm really excited though was these stickers. I picked up 2 of these. I could have picked up a whole stack, but I don't want to be greedy. I went there the next week and they were all gone, so I think someone was greedy. But I got 2 of the Gotham Academies. This was pretty dope, especially since I had just read that issue of White Knight with Gordon being a boss with the rapier. Anyways, Firefly. It's my only indie book this week, and I get it just more because I'm a fan of Firefly than I am a fan of the books. Although this could be really amazing. Like I said, I'm behind on the books, so I can't really even tell you. Now, getting into Marvel. Starting off here, we got Carnage. Absolute Carnage, not just Carnage. Absolute Carnage, #5, 5th and final issue of the series. I just love these covers. Ryan Stegman is a boss over there at Marvel, and I think he's starting to realize it. So he's not just doing any old books anymore, and I don't think Marvel traditionally can't afford good artists or high demand artists. They don't want to pay them. So once an artist realizes their value, all of a sudden they stop doing Marvel comics, at least the interiors. So I hope that's not the case with Ryan Stegman, although I don't want the guy to work for peanuts. I mean, he's a talented artist. This is the only Marvel comic I got this week. You might be expecting, where's Marauders? And is it Marauders? Did something else come out this week? I don't even know. You know, I'm sorry. X-Men is the only thing I committed to, and so I'm going to keep buying those, and I've explained in previous videos. None of the other books really wowed me. I'm going to give X-Force probably another chance. I might do Fallen Angels. That art was so bad, but Brian Hill's story was the best. It was the best. It's just mediocre. You know, I want to love X-Men, I really do, but this, not only is the writing mediocre on most of these books, but it's not the X-Men that I love. So it's kind of a 2 strikes for me personally. If it was the X-Men that I loved and the writing was mediocre, sometimes, you know, you look the other way. It's kind of like I am with Firefly, right? It's like, well, I love Firefly, but it's mediocre. But when it's like, you know, when it's just like, who's this team? I don't understand. The Marauders is dumb, and then the writing's mediocre too. Like, why do I care? But this book is one that I shouldn't like. I don't care about the symbiotes. I think Marvel's way overdoing it. But Cates and Stegman are point, and that is not the white power symbol for anyone who decides they fell for that 4chan prank. It's amazing. Okay, going on to DC. Starting off with Dollar Comics, because DC is way too uncreative to think of something like True Believers as a Dollar Comics. Think about True Believers. Not only does it sound better, but you know, when inflation goes up and things have to increase and they go to like $1.25 or something, they can still call them True Believer books. You're not going to call these dollar books forever. I'm sitting here shaking. Ooh, look, it's action. Dun, 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 dun. That's handheld. So Lex Luthor Man of Steel I had to pick up. I didn't not know this was coming out. I have not read it, but just it was like a week or two ago. Relatively recently, I was watching Dylan over at the Real Comic Book Gamers. Sorry, not Dylan, the Real Comic Book Gamer. He was doing a video. He streams himself playing Batman while he talks about comics. It's actually a pretty cool gig. And he was talking. Someone I think in the chat asked him a question, and he was mentioning this book. I'm pretty sure it was this book. Dylan, I don't know if Dylan's watching my show, but if it's not, he'll correct me. He was going off on how great it was and all that stuff, and I was like, you know what, for $1, I'm gonna try it out. So, props to DC for doing these dollar books. Next is City of Bane. Man, I've been doing this Batman retrospective, and I've been getting behind because it's kind of tedious. And the one I'm working on now is War of Jokes and Riddles, and that's 8 issues long. And you know me, man, that's hard for me to make a short video, and I was like, 8 issues, how do I keep an 8-issue video into like under 30? I don't even want to do 30 minutes. I'm on these to be like 15 to 20, but life's been getting in the way. But I've been wanting to get this out before the end of the Tom King run. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I'll keep going unless people tell me it sucks. So here's Batman. This is just me riding it out until Tynan starts at 86. Next, we have The Batman Who Laughs. It's actually, if you look there in the corner, it's Batman Superman issue 4. I was looking at the shelf and I was like, why is there no A cover for Batman Superman? There was just the art cover, which I don't get anymore because they charge extra for. That's so stupid. These predatory practices. And this was sitting right next to it. And I was like, damn it. Sometimes that happens. Diamond will only ship one of the covers. It's happened to me before where I had to wait the next week for the A cover to show up or whatever. And then I went back and looked and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. And sure enough, Batman Superman is actually called Batman Who Laughs. This is the stupidest thing. This is so bad for product recognition. But what are you going to do? Next is Justice League. And look at no funky cover. I can easily recognize what it is. It's Justice League, and this is a good book. Now, I was talking about X-Men before, and why I'm kind of disappointed. Let me put it in these terms here. Justice League is a book that I only started reading with the Snyder run, and I've talked about it in the past. I only picked it up because it had these cool variant covers, and I was like, you know what? I can collect, it's like the first 6 or 7 issues are these Jim Lee variants. I'll collect those, have fun collecting them, and I'll also get a chance to try Justice League, which is a comic that I've always just been like, it's not kind of silly. I'm not a big fan of just let's take all these big heroes and toss them into a book like Avengers. It's not for me. Then I read it and I was like, oh, this is good. I really like what Scott Snyder's doing. And here's the thing. I'm not predisposed to like Justice League comics. I am predisposed to like X-Men comics. But the X-Men comics are not as enjoyable as these Justice League books. Justice League is more entertaining. It feels more like the X-Men I want to see than X-Men. It's got big ideas. It's got great team chemistry. This is what X-Men used to be like. I can only dream of Scott Snyder actually doing X-Men. I'm not sure if that's something in his forte. It's definitely not in Marvel's, wheelhouse to pay him to do it anyway. So that's never gonna happen. But I can't justify buying Marvel X books that are inferior to this. I just can't. DC has a lot of problems. We've been talking about them over the past months, and there's dark clouds ahead for sure. Lots of things, but Justice League is still good, and it's gonna stay good. It looks like because Scott Snyder's ending his run here, and Robert Venditti, who's one of the best writers in mainstream comics right now, is taking over. And come on, dog. I just love. That's actually my dog in my home. Anyways, so that's Justice League. If you're not reading it, I'm sorry. I guess it's one of the better DC books, and I think a lot of people don't read it because of the same problems I had. And my final book this week is Batman White Knight presents Von Freeze. I'm kind of disappointed in the idea that Batman White Knight became a brand name. Um, I get it's Batman White Knight was the first of the books, was popular, it's hot, so now everything's got to be connected to White because that's what people know, that's the brand. I don't want to see White. It's like White Knight was a storyline. It's now it's going to be everything. It's going to pigeonhole everything that Sean Murphy does in his Murphyverse to be tied to White Knight's storyline. I don't want that. I think it's a bad idea for DC. I don't know if Murphyverse was the right idea. Maybe Sean would have had an idea of his own to call his world. I don't know. But anyways, I really love White Knight, and White Knight 2 is shaping up to possibly be even better. I did a video on the last issue number 4. Phenomenal. One of the best comics I have read maybe in my entire life. It is, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but it's really, really that good. Now, this one is not illustrated by Sean Murphy. Just written by him. Makes sense. He only has so much time to draw. Klaus Janson is not my favorite illustrator. I'm going to still give it a shot. It's a one-shot book. And I want to talk about this for a second. I was watching one of Zach's videos today while I was on the drive home. And he was talking about comic book sales, and he had this idea that, Marvel, revolutionary. He has all his big ideas that Zach always has. And he was talking about, what they need to do is clean house over there, and he'd have, Kevin Feige should have a big meeting, whatever. Do all this stuff and basically say, look, tell everyone there, all the editors, all the group editors, like, look, your books need to sell 100,000 copies, or you're fired, type of thing. And I was like, wow, Zach, I get your sentiment, and I agree a lot with what you're talking about. But first of all, it doesn't matter. He even mentions the White Knight books. Quality doesn't just immediately sell books. If quality sold books, Hawkman would be one of the best-selling books at DC. Daredevil would be one of the best-selling books at Marvel. This book, not this one, but the White Knight books would be they'd all be selling over 100,000 units, but they're not. He points out in his video, I'm not sure if it's true, but he says that White Knight was selling about 70,000 copies. That's really, really sad, given the fact that it's one of the best written books, absolutely one of the best written books in the modern current time on the shelves. It is a phenomenal book. It's so good. It's one of the best I've read in my entire life, On top of the writing, the art is staggering. It's mind-blowing. I love Murphy's art. If that book can't sell, what can? Part of the problem of comic book sales are audiences. There's just not the audience out there right now. Comics, it's not enough for comic companies to just say, well, let's make good books and then we'll sell millions of comics. The audience isn't there, right? You have to build that audience. That takes time. When Jim Shooter took over Marvel back in the 70s, they weren't selling 800,000 units of X-Men on a Tuesday. They weren't breaking records, with new X-Men books, 8 million plus. They weren't doing that. It took Shooter 10 years of slow, consistent, devoted work of building that brand, of long-term thinking. Now, where am I going with this? Well, that's one thing that needs to happen. The other thing that needs to happen, despite quality, comics need to matter. I believe that White Knight is not selling the numbers that it should because it's just an Elseworlds book. And in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't matter. And you know what happens when a comic book doesn't matter? Almost always, with few exceptions, it's never worth anything. And you know who cares about comics being worth something? Collectors. And you know who's keeping the comic book industry afloat and buying the majority of the comics? Collectors. Okay? These are the guys that'll buy all 10 variant covers of a new Spider-Man book written by Nick Spencer. That's crap. And maybe won't touch this book. Because in the greater scheme of things, this doesn't matter. But you know what also doesn't matter? Not mattering hurts is to readers. Some people collect comics not for value. They just like investing into a world that goes on and on and on without end. And they can come every month and get their characters and get their fix and join the lives of these, of these characters in their world. At the end of the day, what happens in White Knight, it's a great story, and I promote it to everyone. This is one of the greatest comics. I'm a huge fan. I'm not knocking it in any sense. But it doesn't matter. That's why Watchmen wasn't a major seller back in the day. It didn't matter. Some people are like, "Ooh, what's this Watchmen book? Oh, this is good." But at the end of the day, you had way more people who were like, "I'm just going to buy my Iron Man. I'm going to buy my X-Men and buy my Spider-Mans and my Batman books." And, Watchmen has, it's held its place, and I believe White Knight will be looked back at fondly in 10, 20 years. People that were here that love the book will be like, this was great. But that greatness doesn't always translate into sales, is what I'm getting at. So comics need to matter. Now, that doesn't mean every comic needs to matter. White Knight can be what it is, and I'm glad that it is what it is. I'm not saying White Knight needs to be in the continuity and ongoing. But companies, when you're a publisher, you should recognize this fact. That, hey, some of these books we're going to do, and they're going to make their sales, and we're going to be happy with those sales. And, in today's market, White Knight's doing decent sales. It should just be doing really, really great. It should be doing double the sales that it's doing. But that is what it is. And I just wanted to talk about this. I don't know, are you excited about this Mr. Freeze book? Von Freeze. I don't know what to think about it. I'm going to give it a shot because, like I said, White Knight and White Knight 2 are primo. So I'm going to collect this book. I don't care about one-shots. This seems to, in the world of even White Knight, this seems to not be a big matter much. It's $5.99. That's going to throw people off. So I'll do a video on it, I'm sure. So we'll talk more about that in depth and detail. But that's what I wanted to talk about. This is Stan. That's Stan, in case you couldn't tell the difference. There's Forky. This is my comics for this week. I should probably fan them out. It's hard to do and hold. Oh yeah, but I gotta stand. We have the technology. Which do you guys think is going to be the best, and which is going to be the worst? Every week when a Batman book comes out, it's a pretty simple pick, especially since I don't buy any Brian Michael Bendis books anymore. So, Forky, he's going to leap there. Stan, what's going to be the best book this week, huh? Can Donny Cates pull out a spectacular ending? Scott Snyder's Justice League, or is Von Freeze going to blow us away? Stan, it's going to go over here with Maximum Carnage, and you know what? I don't blame him. Carnage and Freeze are the two books I'm most excited about, but I'm excited really about all these books. Firefly. Anyways, those are my books this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, putting up with my long-winded diatribes, and listening in. I love reading your comments. I read every single comment, even though I don't have time to comment on all of them. I appreciate what you guys put in there. If you're on my Discord channel, I appreciate talking to everyone on there. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.